Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for part 2 of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion webinar series. This 8-part webinar series will feature 2 tracks. Sessions on the Tuesday track are aimed at building diversity, equity, and inclusion practices in your workplace and in the community. And sessions on today's track, are focused on highlighting diverse-owned businesses and entrepreneurs. This webinar series is presented by the Greater Wyoming Valley Chamber's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council and sponsored by PNC Bank. Before I introduce our presenting sponsor, I want to go over some housekeeping items. All attendees will be in listen-only mode. To be respectful of everyone's time, we have allotted time at the end for questions and answers. Feel free to ask a question at any time during the presentation by submitting them in the Q&A section or the chat box. This event is also being live streamed on Facebook. For anyone watching on Facebook, please enter your questions in the comment section and we'll ask on your behalf. And last, a recording of the session will be available on our Facebook and YouTube pages by the end of the week and will be linked on the main event page for the webinar series. Now, to get us started, I want to thank our sponsor, PNC Bank, for again sponsoring our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion webinar series. We have a quick video from PNC to show, and then we will hear some remarks from Matthew Pugh before he introduces today's speaker.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of everyone at PNC, I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar. At PNC, we embrace and promote diversity and inclusion as a core element of our values and culture. We recognize that it is bigger than any single person or group, and when coupled with collaborative teams and inclusive leaders, has far-reaching impact. Taking the time to join us today indicates that you are interested in learning more about the roles and responsibilities necessary to create more opportunities for positive understanding and change. Thank you for showing up to prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion today. Thank you also to the Greater Wyoming Valley Chamber for creating this series and to the phenomenal presenters for sharing their time and expertise to help foster a more inclusive culture in our community. It is my pleasure to introduce Genelle Sedon. A West Pittston native, she is the owner and director of C&G Tutoring and an English as a second language program specialist for the Wilkes-Barre Area School District. Her tutoring service specializes in K-12, college, and SAT prep tutoring, which offers both in-person and virtual sessions. She and her husband, Chris, have 2 children, Colette, age 6, and Garrison, age 3. And they also have 2 rescue dogs from Blue Chip. Genelle, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Matt. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I want to thank the Greater Wilkes-Barre Chamber of Commerce for inviting me here today. My presentation is called Beyond the Classroom Walls. For the last 14 years, I have been in education, and coming up in May, I will celebrate a 3rd year being an entrepreneur and a new business owner. My presentation today is titled Beyond the Classroom Walls. And just to give you a little bit of background knowledge about me, grit is something that I have. Grit is a noun, and it means possessing indomitable spirit, having a drive for achievement regardless of upbringing or situation, earning success in the trenches through hard work. And this is my mantra. This is what drives me. I've always had grit, and I think I will always continue to have grit moving forward. And for me, grit means give it your all, redo if necessary, ignore giving up, and taking the time to do it right. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I started my career as a journalist and I worked at the Times Leader I was about 22 years old. And, while working there, I remember sitting at my desk one day and looking up master's programs. And for some reason, I was looking up master's programs in education, which was completely different than my field of journalism. And I had applied to Westchester University and the University of Scranton, which is my alma mater for my undergraduate degree. And I was accepted to both universities, and I decided, okay, I will go to the University of Scranton. And even if it takes me, 10 years to get my master's degree, I'll just take one class at a time. And, later on down the road, maybe I'll become a teacher. So I drove up to the university to meet with my advisor. Her name is Dr. Tata Mubugwa, and I wasn't familiar with her from my time there as an undergrad because, again, my degree was in journalism. So I found the education building and I went to her office, and we were discussing the program and how many credits it would take me to earn my master's degree. And she looked at me and she said, well, are you going to pursue this degree part-time or full-time? And I said, oh, I would love to do it full-time, but I have to work. And there was no way that I could afford, quitting my job and going back to school. I had just graduated. I needed to keep working. So I said, I did apply for a graduate assistantship. I said, but I never heard anything. And she said, okay, I'll be right back. So, I still could hear her heels clicking down the hall, and she walked down the hall. I didn't know where she was going. And she came back a few minutes later and she said, okay, Dr. Lowe would like to meet you. And so I walked down the hall, and little did I know, Dr. Lowe was the department chair at the time. And she said to me, do you have any special skills, or is there anything, that I should know about you? And I said, well, I'm a journalist, so I know how to write. And I said, I'm also bilingual because when I had studied at the University of Scranton, I had studied abroad at UNIVA University in Guadalajara, Mexico. And she said, okay. She said, we're going to take you as a G4. You're going to be responsible for putting out the educational newsletter every month. And I said, okay, great. I was really excited. And she said, what a G4 means? And I looked at her, I really wasn't sure. And she said, well, you will receive a half tuition scholarship. So you'll be able to pursue this degree full time. And I was elated. I drove home to West Pittston smiling ear to ear, couldn't believe, what had happened. And I remember telling my mom, Mom, I'm going back to school. I'm going to get my master's degree. I'm going to, give my notice at my job and go to be a teacher. And she said to me, teaching is hard to find a position in, Genelle. And I said, I know. And she said, we're not political. And I said, that's okay. I could find a position because, again, I knew in my heart that I had that grit. And I remember even going out for dinner at one of local restaurants in my area. And there was a school board member there from my home district, Wyoming area. And I remember going over and saying, hey, I'm going back to school to be a teacher. I got a scholarship. I'm going to have my master's degree. And she said, oh, that's nice, honey. She said, take a number. There are 400 to 500 applicants for one job. And I remember being a little, floored leaving the conversation, but I just kept at it with my grit. I just kept moving forward and working very hard in my classes and listening to my professors. And it was in the spring around this time that the department chair called me into her office and she told me to close the door. And I thought, close the door? Oh no, what did I do wrong? So I closed the door and I sat down in front of her desk and she said to me, Genelle, you've been doing a lot of hard work around here. And she was very, very serious. And I said, yes, I said, I really like it here. And she said that she had appreciated all of the hard work that I had been doing, and that there was extra money in the budget so that they were going to increase me to a G3 for the rest of that year. And it was going to back pay all the way until the fall semester. And that next year I would be moved up to a G2, which I knew by then what that meant. It meant that I received a full tuition scholarship for my master's degree. And I was just so happy and excited because I knew that I was able to afford, not having a job and continuing my schooling. And I didn't have to worry about, exorbitant amounts of student loans later down the road. And I think I even probably hugged her that day. I was the department chair's GA for 2 years, and she definitely kept me on my toes. But again, inside, I had my grit. So I graduated, actually I graduated first in my class, and I was very proud. And, the summer was coming, and, June went by. I sent out applications to every school district, within an hour radius or so. And, I just thought, okay, I'm waiting for them to call me. So June, I get to June 30th, nothing. I don't hear not one phone call. I get to July, end of July, not one phone call. And, I just thought, okay, maybe mom was right. But again, I had that grit. And by the end of August, I had 2 interviews at 2 area school districts on the same day, within maybe an hour and a half's time apart. And it was very close to when school was going to be starting. So I went to the first interview at Hanover Area School District, and it was a very intense interview. The superintendent was there, the building principals, and they were grilling me with a lot of questions, and it took a lot longer than I thought. So I had left the interview, and it was 2:15, and I was scheduled to be at my interview with the Wilkes-Barre Area School District at 2:00. So I called the secretary, the superintendent's office, and I said, I'm running late. I'm very sorry. I had another interview that ran over. Can I still come for my interview today? And she said, hold on, I'll see if he'll wait. And, that 30, 40 seconds was probably some of the longest of my life. And she came back to the phone and she said, yes, Dr. Namey said he will wait for you. So I drove from Hanover to the Central Administration Building for Wilkes-Barre area. And, I had my interview with Dr. Namey, and he said, okay, you will probably be hired in a few days. He gave me a date and a time to call him back, and he said he will let me know. So I was able to, obtain a position in the school district as a Spanish teacher for a few years. But when I was teaching Spanish, I would always pass the ESL students, and I had this ESL certification that I had obtained also while going to school at the University of Scranton. And I just felt some type of connection that I just wanted to teach ESL. So I went down to the principal and I asked him, if there were going to be any ESL positions open in the next school year. And he said that there might be. And I said, if it was possible, I would love to switch to become an ESL teacher. And I just, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be as far as my classroom teaching goes. I love teaching ESL. It's amazing. And I've been doing that for the last 12 years. During this time when I first became a teacher, an ESL teacher, there was also a position open at King's College for an adjunct professor. And I remember putting in my application, and I was 27 years old. And I was able to become an adjunct professor for King's College at the age of 27. And I still remember my first class, you know, the students were in there ready to learn. And I walked in and I went over to the board and I picked up one of the dry erase markers and I started writing my name, and I could still see the expressions on their face. They were very surprised to see someone like me of my age, you know, teaching a course. But I did that until 2014. And then in 2014, my husband Chris and I had our daughter Colette. And, you know, I focused on being a mom at that time. One of the things that I had always done, even when I was an adjunct at King's College, was private tutoring. I tutored, you know, little brothers and sisters of friends and family. I had referrals coming, you know, if I exercised with one woman, she would say, okay, my nephew needs a tutor, could you help him? There was just a big need for tutoring, but I didn't have a lot of money and I didn't know anything about real estate. And I just kept thinking, you know, how could I get CNG tutoring off the ground? So it was May of 2018, and I finally decided to pull the trigger. And I'm going to show you guys a video that gives a little bit of the history of CNG tutoring. Hi, my name is Genelle Sedon, and I'm a West Pittston native. I am a daughter, wife, mother, educator, tutor, and today a proud new business owner. Over the past decade, I've dreamed about starting a tutoring service to help students enhance their education. Today, that dream is a reality. In May 2018, my husband Chris and I opened CNG Tutoring, and we haven't looked back since. We've had the opportunity to prepare students of the Wyoming Valley for their upcoming SATs, attain a desired GPA, and even learn a second language. To date, nearly 100 students have enrolled with CNG, and currently we have a 5-star parent rating. We take pride in our students having confidence going into their various academic environments. It's important to be involved in the community, and I felt this was a good way to give back. With extensive previous experience in private tutoring and a passion for helping others, it just made sense to start a business that I'm very passionate about. CNG began with a Google Voice phone number and a Facebook page. The hope was to create a brand that educates, motivates, and cares about students. After thorough research, we uncovered that there was limited individualized tutoring in the area, so we found this as an opportunity to help students of the Wyoming Valley reach their full potential. We understand that some students thrive in a one-on-one setting, so we offer that optimal learning experience. After many discussions with colleagues and friends, the positive support has helped CNG Tutoring become what it is today, including 5 part-time employees. We're also planning to expand this year with additional instructors. Our main focus is to reach more students in the Wyoming Valley and provide them confidence and ability to succeed. We discuss with clients a common goal, and we do everything possible to assist with that goal. Long term, I think of CNG Tutoring as a service where parents and students can find a tutor to fit any academic need they may have. My biggest struggle is reaching school districts to let them know about our services. Guidance counselors are busier than ever. CNG Tutoring receives a lot of referrals from parents who have worked with us and whose children have seen results. Our biggest success was actually developing and starting CNG Tutoring and seeing the positive results firsthand in student outcomes. It's rewarding to help set goals with clients and watch as they achieve and exceed them. Seeing not only their academic goals, but also the self-confidence excel and watching them personally grow is extraordinary. Organizations such as Wilkes-Barre Connect introduced me to a whole new side of business. I was able to make connections to other organizations like SBDC. We are always looking for ways to improve and evolve at CNG Tutoring. being able to network with people like Joe Boylan and gather the tools needed to help keep C&G tutoring moving forward. This summer, thanks to the awesome Wilkes-Barre Connect interns, we now have a website. You can check us out at www.cngtutoring.com. As a wife, a mother, and an educator, I was hesitant to begin my journey as an entrepreneur. It's challenging to find time to balance everything as a woman. I encourage any woman who has the dream of being an entrepreneur to make those dreams a reality. So you could see, oh, sorry, hold on, let me get to my next. It took a lot of community support to get C&G tutoring off the ground. Before we started this webinar, I was talking to Ben and Matt and Michaela that, you know, I really don't think C&G tutoring would be where it is right now without the help of all the organizations that you could see here on the screen. I'm going to start with the Greater Wyoming Valley Chamber of Commerce. You know, they have been instrumental in helping me get C&G tutoring off the ground and pointing me in the right direction as to where my business, to help grow my business and to move my business forward. The Small Business Development Center at Wilkes University has also been extremely instrumental. You know, Chrissy Sassy is amazing over there, and I have to give her a great shout out because she's always sending me whatever information that she has that's available that if it wasn't for the SBDC Center, I wouldn't know about a lot of things. NEPA Strong started after the pandemic, and I have to give a shout out to Kristen Miller because it has been great, not just for C&G tutoring, but for so many small businesses in our area, and it just really helps support our community. The Elevate Young Professionals from the Greater Wyoming Valley Chamber of Commerce. I was introduced to this group in the fall. I was fortunate enough to be nominated this year for Educator of the Year. And I remember attending the event with my husband, Chris, and it was a drive-in, you know, socially distanced event. And I remember we were talking and looking around and we just said, wow, like there are such awesome things going on in the Wyoming Valley right now and in our area. And it just felt so good to be around other young professionals and positive people who want to see nothing but success for others and for our area. King's College. Like I said, I was an adjunct professor there at the age of 27. And then I also, for the past 9 years, have been a teacher in the Hispanic Outreach Program. They do such a wonderful job and they provide great opportunities to our Hispanic population. They've been wonderful to us at C&G Tutoring, providing us classrooms sometimes to hold our SAT boot camps in. Wilkes-Barre Connect, which got me totally started, meeting with them was just eye-opening to all the resources that are available as a small business owner. St. Joseph Oblates on 315 in Pittston is great. We actually started using their community room to do some of our tutoring in, and they have been nothing but supportive of our education. Boost Business NEPA, which again began after the pandemic. I was fortunate enough to apply and win a billboard and meet some really great people. I give them a lot of credit for trying to give back to the community and help as many small businesses stay afloat that they can. And then of course the PA library system that allows us to use so much space for our tutoring and for our clients. We use so many different libraries in the system. And I just have to say, it all started at the Pittston Library. They allowed me to use their room, and I can't thank them enough. But again, like I said, it takes a lot more to run a small business than just me or my other part-time employees. It's the community that really helps, and I can't thank any of them enough. You guys are awesome. Like I was talking to Ben before, and I said, you know, I just can't see this type of business running outside of this area, because one thing about the Wyoming Valley is we have so much support in helping one another. These are just some pictures from C&G Tutoring. Pre and post pandemic, you could see we kind of transitioned to the outside in the upper left-hand corner. You know, last year when the lockdown hit, it just totally threw us for a loop. You know, we've completely transitioned from in-person to 100% virtual platforms, and we use a variety of virtual platforms. You know, we had schools closing, and so we had some clients on packages, and we issued refunds, and we did everything we could to try to help our families and their clients. One story in particular stands out. We were tutoring a 6th grade student, and his school closed, and then his older brother was attending college, and he was struggling because the class had gone from in-person to virtual, and he needed a tutor. So we were able to switch tutoring from the younger brother to the older brother. We did a lot of interesting things, and we still are adapting to this new way of learning, and it's been great though. If anything, it has definitely helped us reach even more students and create, you know, different aspects so that we can assist parents and take some of the stress off of the families as far as, you know, virtual learning goes. We're able to offer virtual learning pods, and we really saw an increase in our SAT preparation sessions. I think teenagers were home and bored, and it was just a great time for them to put in some work, some grit, and get ready for the SAT upcoming, you know, year. And they really did an awesome job. Then after the lockdown, you know, started easing up, I couldn't believe the amount of people who really wanted in-person tutoring. So we had to come up with a COVID waiver, and, you know, I talked to my tutors about who was excuse me, interested in tutoring in person and who wanted to do virtual. And we were able to, you know, get all of our clients exactly what they need and exactly what they wanted. So it really couldn't have gone any better. I know that the pandemic has really hurt some businesses. For me, it was more of a transition and learning and equipment. You know, we had to make sure we had the proper Wi-Fi, and, you know, we had to educate ourselves on how to use the different virtual platforms like Skype and Zoom and Google Meet, and then also how to help our clients navigate through these virtual platforms as well. And again, you know, to make sure everybody had the right equipment. But we were able to do that. It took some time and a lot of patience and a lot of hard work and grit, but we did it. And we're really grateful for all of our clients and parents that stuck with us through this tough time. And we're forever grateful, and, you know, wanting to support all of the students, as many students as we can in our area. I did do a little bit of a spotlight talking about virtual learning, and before the webinar began, I was talking to Ben and Matt and Michaela about how, you know, some students are not really strong virtual learners and others are really excellent. So I'll just play you some of the spotlight as well. Good morning, everyone. My name is Genelle Sedon, and I am the owner and director of C&G Tutoring. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in virtually to this wonderful spotlight event. I would also like to thank the Wilkes-Barre Chamber of Commerce and Wilkes-Barre Connect for inviting me to speak. I want to speak to you today on a topic that is on the tip of everyone's tongue. I want to talk to you about virtual education. I know our classrooms don't look the same due to the COVID-19 2020 pandemic. However, it does not mean that our students here in Northeastern Pennsylvania have to stop their learning. There are so many things we can do with virtual learning. I want you to think back a couple generations. I know myself, I was a child, and I learned my ABCs and my 1, 2, 3s from Sesame Street. I remember learning how to be a good person from Mr. Rogers. I learned how to appreciate a good book from watching Reading Rainbow. These programs gave me the opportunity to learn right from my own living room. I remember even some family, friends, and relatives, doing the locomotion with Richard Simmons and exercising from home. I remember some friends and family members taking art lessons from Bob Ross virtually. Virtual learning is, again, not something new, but it is something that we can all do. We just have to use the right tools and we have to have the right instructors. One of the things that C&G Tutoring came out with this year is a virtual learning pod. It allows students in the same class to work with one of our instructors as some supplemental learning topics. And they are also able to get homework help, which not only helps the student, but also takes the stress off the parents. And it even makes it social because there are other kids from their class there that they can work with and talk to. Another thing we are offering virtually is our SAT sessions. And this is going great because we want all of our students here in Northeastern Pennsylvania to secure their scholarships and gain acceptance to whatever university they may choose. Believe it or not, we even have 3- and 4-year-olds virtually learning Spanish. And I have to say, I am more than impressed with our students. It's great. I want to offer our community here, if they have any questions about virtual learning, to contact me at cngtutoring@gmail.com. Hopefully, I hear from all of you soon. And you can also find us on Facebook, and you can send me a message with any questions that you may have. Because remember, we are here to support you and all of the virtual learning going on in Northeastern Pennsylvania. Have a great afternoon, everybody. So offering the virtual sessions was something that we were able to do for our clients, and we still offer discounted virtual sessions presently. What happened was when we went to the lockdown last year, it was around Easter time, and I had some goodie bags for our clients. And so, I call them porch drop-offs. So I would go around and do some porch drop-offs. And, at C&G Tutoring, we're all about motivating our students and our clients. And I was virtually teaching my own seniors from Coughlin High School last year. And I remember it was a Thursday night and I had taught them that day virtually, and we were all new to the virtual platforms, and I was losing them. These kids, their prom was gone, the rest of their senior year, their sports seasons were canceled. Graduation was so up in the air, senior day, all of the things that they had been looking forward to in their high school years. So I decided that I was going to write each of my seniors a handwritten note. And at the first point, I thought, okay, well, I'm going to write each of them a note, and I will probably, drop it in the mail. And then as I was writing these notes, I thought, maybe I could do a porch drop off for my seniors, like to motivate them. So I did. And, my husband drove me around the first time. And of course we get a flat tire. And I stopped at Curry Donuts and I got each of them a donut. And I drove around to all of their houses. And, you could see from the expression on Naomi's face here, you know, they were so surprised. I remember canceling class that Friday morning and, you know, saying, you know, I'm unavailable that day or whatever. And, you know, because I was driving around to all of their houses and surprising them and just bringing them a little bit of joy. And I wound up doing that for 6 weeks. And I called it Farewell Fridays. So every Friday I would get in my car and, you know, drive the route to all of my seniors' homes. And sometimes they were home, sometimes they weren't. But each week I would do, you know, something different, as you can see from the images on the screen. And, you know, it was just something that I did to make them feel special. And I think that as an educator, that is such an important thing, to inspire them. There's nothing better than being inspired by one of your teachers. And I hope that I inspire them. I know that they definitely inspire me. And that group of seniors, you know, they graduated. We wound up being able to have an individual ceremony of graduation. I was able to attend each and every one of their graduations. They were all at different times, all different days of the week, but I went and I was able to see each one of them graduate. And it was really special. And I know that I will never forget the class of 2020 and my Farewell Fridays. I don't know what I'm going to do yet for my seniors this year, but I'm definitely thinking of something. And, you know, just to go back to our community support, you know, it's so important to support small business in any way that you can. Of course, CNG Tutoring does not have a huge advertising budget, barely any advertising budget really. And a referral, we are, you know, a referral business. And it's just the best thing that anybody can give to a small business. And I know that a lot of people have suffered economically due to the pandemic, but there are ways that you can support small business and it really doesn't cost anything at all. And I've listed them here, you know, write a positive review. I'm proud to say that CNG Tutoring for nearly 3 years has been able to retain a 5-star parent review. You can tell your friends and family, follow them on social media, engage with their posts, and give them a shout out, or even sign up for their newsletter. And, you know, it costs nothing. It's all just, again, things that you can do that really help support somebody else's dream and somebody's business. And most of the time when you're supporting these small businesses, they put the money back into the community. This year we were able to sponsor the Diamond City Sports, brought back the regional spelling bee, and CNG Tutoring was able to be a sponsor. You know, I always support the Wilkes-Barre Area Drama Club with an ad in one of their brochures for their performances. There's been so many things that we try to do, again, to support our own community, a community that has supported me and my business. And again, I am just forever grateful to anyone who has helped me along the way. Just if you're looking for CNG Tutoring, you could find our website that I have to say again, the awesome Wilkes-Barre Connect interns built. And I see that Tim Ohms is on here. He actually was an intern at the time. And they did such an awesome job. And we're forever grateful because I never thought that I would be able to have a website. We're on Facebook and LinkedIn and also Instagram. But if anybody has any questions, you know, I'm here, and I just want to just reconvey the message that just to find your grit, you know, have that grit. Don't let anybody tell you no or it can't be done, because again, you know, I am a classroom teacher, a business owner, a wife, and a mother of 2. And sometimes it is very hectic and busy, but you can find the balance. And if you want something enough, you can do it. You just have to believe in yourself. And just remember, there is community support here in the Wyoming Valley. You just have to know where to find it. And hopefully some of you out there today virtually, will find your way in our community and help support this awesome place that we all call home.
Thank you so much, Genelle. I always love hearing your story. You have a great story to tell.
Thank you.
We want to see, I know if we said questions and answers for the end, if anybody has any questions, please put it in the chat box now and we'll get to them. And Genelle, I just have one off the bat, maybe anybody's writing down their question.
Sure.
What advice would you give to someone who is kind of going back and forth on starting their business? What to do?
Go for it. I would say go for it. Try it. There's so many resources out there. The money thing, the finances was always what was holding me back. I was always afraid to take that little bit of a risk. But, and I thought about it for 10 years. So I would say go for it and don't delay. Believe in yourself and don't be afraid to ask for help, because there are great organizations and people in this community who are willing to help.
And then second I have for you, I know you mentioned balancing a lot, and I know especially for our young professionals and some entrepreneurs, the work-life balance question comes up a lot. What would you say is the key to balancing work and life?
I think if your work makes you happy, that it just easily balances itself out. I know that, sometimes there are many nights that I'm doing things late for CNG tutoring or for my students in the Wilkes-Barre Area School District, but it's just work that I love. So to me, it almost doesn't even seem like work because I enjoy it. But there's definitely, it just comes natural. I don't know. There's just something about it, I guess, because I just love what I do.
So looking to see if anybody has any questions, then at this point, we'll have you email them to Genelle, but we'll have this posted within a couple hours on Facebook and on our YouTube by the end of tomorrow. And I want to thank Genelle again for speaking today and PNC for sponsoring. Again, we do have this series going on all through April. This is part 2 of an 8-part series. So be sure to check out the rest of the series coming up on our website, Facebook, and social media pages. Hope to see everybody at the next couple of sessions. And thank you again, Genelle, for speaking.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.